Twist by Charles Dickens. The Tale of Monks. At twilight, two men forced Monks into Mr. Brownlow's house, holding his arms tightly. For what reason am I kidnapped in the street and held here? Asked Monks. This is strange treatment, sir, he said, throwing down his hat and cloak. From my father's oldest friend. It is because of my friendship with your father, said Brownlow, that you are not being treated much worse. Edward Lyford. Yes, I know your real name. I loved your father's sister and would have married her many years ago if she had not died. Your father and I cried together, and I never forget him. It is just as well, Mr. Monks, that you called yourself by another name, for you do not deserve to have your father's name. This is all fine, sneered Monks, but what do you want with me? You have a brother, said Mr. Brownlow. I have no brother, replied Monks. You know that as well as I. What I do know is that you are the child of a bad marriage. Your father, my closest friend, was forced by his family to marry your mother. It was just a business deal. He was never happy, and it tore at his heart until he could take no more. My parents split up, said Monks. So what? Your father found a chance for happiness. He moved to another country where he became friends with a naval officer, Mr. Fleming by name. Mr. Fleming's wife had died and left him with two daughters. One was a beautiful girl of 19, and the other just a very young child. Your father and the older daughter fell in love and were engaged to be married. What's all this mean to me? Get to the point, said Monks. Just before his wedding, a rich relative died and left your father a large amount of money. Property. He had to go to Italy to settle that business. Your mother heard about all this and went to Italy to find your father, taking you with her. She was a greedy, mean woman and was after any money she thought she might be able to get. Your father was sick when she arrived. He mysteriously died the next day. No illegal will was found. So all of his money and property went to you and your mother. Monks said nothing. However, before he left for Italy, your father came to see me, said Mr. Brownlow slowly. I've never heard of that, said Monks, looking a bit worried. He left me a picture of the young woman he loved, which he himself had painted. He also told me that he planned to settle his affairs by giving your mother and you a part of his fortune, so he would be free to leave the country and marry, of course. I never saw my good friend again. He never came back from Italy. I looked for the young lady whose face was in the painting. I wanted to help her in any way I could, but her whole family moved away and I never found her. Monks sat back with a smile, looking much calmer. Pulling nearer to Monk's chair, Mr. Brownlow continued, I am the one who saved your little brother from a life of misery and crime. I took him into my home and gave the poor child the first good food and care he had ever been given. Of course, I had no idea who he truly was at that time. But while he was with me, I saw how much he looked like the young lady in the picture your father painted. I also noticed that he looked a great deal like my friend Mr. Leaford, your father. Monks began to squirm. His face became more twisted. Brownlow went on speaking. After your wicked friends stole Oliver from me, I could not help thinking of how Oliver looked like that picture. I began to hunt you down to find the answers I wanted about your father. I went all the way to the West Indies, where I knew you had gone after your mother died. When I found you had left for London, I came back and have been looking for you ever since. Now, Edward Leaford, or should I call you Monks, my search is over. You can't prove anything against me, cried Monks. Just try it, I dare you. A painting of that lady whom you never found. Is that all? Ha! Mr. Brownlow moved closer to Monks and said he had not finished. He stared hard into Monk's face and went on. There was a will, which your mother destroyed before she died, and she told you all about it. There was something in it about a child that was about to be born to your father and the woman he loved. This couldn't be the only reason you have hunted the boy down. He was a twisted of fate. You recognized Oliver when you knocked him down in the streets that day when I had my pocket picked. Did he look a little like your father? Did you see something familiar in his face? Mr. Brownlow stopped a moment to calm his voice. We know more. You destroyed proof of your brother's birth and who his parents were, because you knew what was in the will. And we also know that Fagin helped you. Who told us? A good-hearted girl, a kind soul, who has been murdered for it. Mr. Brownlow's voice rose to shout. Now, Edward Leaford, your evil plans of schemes have brought Nancy a violent death. Do you dare me to prove it? No, said Monks, biting his lip. I knew nothing of that. I thought it was just an argument between her and Bill. No, it was because Nancy told part of your secret that the poor girl was killed, replied Mr. Brownlow. You caused the murder. Now will you tell me the rest of the secrets? And will you sign the papers on which the whole truth has been written down? Yes, I will do those things, mumbled Monks. You must do even more than that, said Brownlow. You must give your poor innocent half-brother Oliver everything that is due to him, everything your father's will said he should have. When you have done all of this, you are free to go wherever you please. I will not send the police after you. Once I know that Oliver has been taken care of, I don't ever want to see you again. You are a selfish, twisted man.